Welcome to the BVTV Global Network, coming to you from the UK studios of BizVision. I'm your host, Malcolm Gallagher. Now, as an experienced business book reviewer, I also get exposed to what seems to be a growing brigade of people who purport to be the tops in helping you write and market your book. What many of these are doing, in my experience, is being financially predatory on the vulnerable vanity publishing authors. There are, UNESCO estimates, 2.2 million business books published each year, with 305,000 in the United States and 120,000 in the UK. So not all of those can be successful or anywhere near it. However, I know there are many authentic authors out there, and I meet them as BVTV guests. But how do others spot and avoid the pitfalls of publishing? Well, who better to ask than the author of Publishing Pitfalls for Authors. Welcome, Mark Leslie Lefebvre.
Oh, great to see you, Malcolm. Thanks for having me on.
Well, I've got to say to you, happy Thanksgiving, because you've kindly come on today when it's Thanksgiving Day, and you should be out making whoopee with her like all the rest of the Canadians doing, is it?
I'm thankful every single day. I'm already celebrating Halloween. Come on.
All right. Yes, I see you've got the skulls behind you. Yeah, very good. Very good. It's Halloween every day there with you, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah.
Mark, you're an experienced writer and you run the Stark Publishing Company. Why did you feel there was a need for your book, and what does it do for aspiring authors? Am I right in saying that there are nefarious people preying on vulnerable authors?
Yeah, you know what? That is one of the biggest issues in the publishing industry, is people pretending to be publishers and people pretending that they're going to have a package that's going to turn an author into an overnight bestseller. A lot of people dream about one day writing a book, and not a lot of people have done the research into the business of publishing. So when they see that, oh, I can pay somebody $10,000 and they guarantee I'm going to be a bestseller, and they guarantee this and they guarantee that, and all of these issues, what I want to do is I want to be able to help authors if they want to work with a traditional publisher and try to land a deal. I want them to understand, for example, some of the pitfalls of contracts, like giving all your rights away, firstborn, all the little hidden clauses in the contract. But on the flip side, if they wanted to do it yourself, self-publish, there are a lot of predators out there who are really, their business model is taking money from writers, whereas in traditional publishing, the money should flow to the authors. And so, yeah, what I want to really do is prepare authors to understand what are the things that can get in the way of your success. And I think actually predators, it's a P, because I use alliteration. I even though it comes later in the book in alphabetical order, I actually put P as for predator as the first chapter because I wanted to double highlight them.
Yeah. I mean, why do people fall for that? I mean, if you're talking about $10,000, that's a lot of money, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think because people are looking for the magic bullet. They're looking for a quick solution that, and let's even look at the pandemic itself. We have a vaccine, and the vaccine's not 100%. Nothing's 100%, right? It just helps you. And so I think what happens is you go, well, I can work for years. I can work really hard, rewrite it, draft it, work with an editor, get all these things. Or, traditional publishing takes years and years and years to get an agent, an editor, and a publisher. And, then to one day see your book on bookstore shelves. These packages prey to the shortcut solution. Oh, I want it now. It's no different than, fad diets. All I have to do is eat nothing but popcorn all the time. Oh, that's an easy thing to do. I'll do that, and everything in my life will be better. It's the same sort of solution, right? We're always looking for shortcuts.
Yeah. So what else does your book do for an aspiring author, apart from obviously telling them to watch out for those nefarious people?
Well, it's some of the practices, it's some of the habits that writers can get into that can actually shortchange their career or push them off in the wrong direction. And some of it may be professional behavior. Some of it may be just practice, the way that they get into writing. Needing to write on a regular basis is one of the more important things. And then I think there are other things, such as the perception of what it is that they're writing, and not thinking from the point of view of who they're writing it for or why they're writing something. Always keeping that audience in mind is one of the biggest issues you can make as an author. forgetting who you're writing this story for, because any marketing that comes along for your book, whether you're doing it yourself, whether you're working with a publisher, all of that marketing, if it does not focus very specifically on the target audience, the target reader, you're completely missing the point, and you're wasting your time and you're wasting your money.
Yes, yeah. And I suppose vanity publishing is where a lot of it comes into it. I mean, I've interviewed over 600 authors around the world since March 2020, which is quite a lot. And the majority of them are coming to me because of their agents who have already filtered them. But then sometimes you get some people who are just obsessed about the book rather than the message.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the other thing I try to remind authors. Well, oftentimes, if you have one book or this is your first book, you're obviously very proud of it. But a lot of it is your author branding, and it's a long-term thing. Thinking about you as a career. For example, when I published my first book in 2004, I've got over 30 books now, with 4 or 5 different publishers, as well as some of the books that I've published myself. And if I had branded myself specifically on any one of those books, I would have really pigeonholed myself into one area. And again, that's another pitfall that authors can run into.
Yeah. You write a lot of horror books, as you were telling me before, and which, as I say, Halloween every day there at your place.
Yes.
Yeah. What fascinates you about horror?
I'm always still scared of the monster under my bed. I've always been afraid of the boogeyman. I've always been afraid of the dark, and maybe it's therapy, but I just find it easier when I imagine things. I find it easy to explore the shadows and see what might be lurking in the shadows. I've always been curious about what if, and that's what's drawn me to the speculative fiction area. Well, what if this were true? I mean, my series Canadian Werewolf, that starts with a Canadian werewolf in New York, which is a nod to that classic film, The American Werewolf in London, is what if a humble, pushover, meek, mild, polite Canadian was living in one of the biggest cities in the US and was cursed with a werewolf curse? Well, where would he go to run around as a wolf in the middle of the night? Like, where are you going to find? Well, obviously Central Park's a good place, but what if you can't get to Central Park? And so even some of the humor, there's a lot of humor in some of the horror that I write too, because you can't imagine, these weird, unexplained phenomenon happening, and you have to approach it with a sense of humor. Otherwise, maybe you go mad.
Yeah, I love your thinking, Mark. Now, let me remind our audience of your URL, your website address, which is, it's a great one because I don't have to spell your surname, It's all the W's. Well, viewers, you can see it on the screen behind me, but for listeners, let me spell that out for them. And it is all the W's, Mark, M-A-R-K, Leslie, Leslie, markleslie.ca for Canada, markleslie.ca. Mark's book is called Publishing Pitfalls for Authors, and it's published by his own company, Stark Publishing. Mark, thanks for part 1 in your duology. That's 2 videos. In our next episode, I want you to help those aspiring authors go about it the best way to both create and write a winning business book. Thanks, Mark Leslie Lefebvre, for episode 1.
Thank you, Malcolm.